But welcome everybody. Welcome everyone on Facebook. Welcome everyone on Zoom. Very, very happy that you're here. I'm Mike DeLuca, and this is our Sunday Goal Achievement Mastery Mastermind meeting. And it is brought to you by our little company, Integrative Wellness and Development, LLC. Everything that we are sharing tonight are things that I have been studying and I have been practicing with, and things that I've worked with my clients in my coaching program, in my Your 9 Steps program for Goal Achievement Mastery, my Goal Achievement Mastery journaling program. And it is not for anything to do with analyzing or predicting problems, diagnosing, treating, or curing problems. It is also not meant for any type of guidance for your spiritual life. It is strictly for you to learn how to make good decisions in your life, set good goals and good plans in order to achieve those goals. So with that, we are going to jump into the topic tonight, and the topic tonight is about values. So I'm going to get us into the PowerPoint here. Going to share my screen, get to the PowerPoint, press a bunch of buttons, and then more buttons, and then suddenly the PowerPoint comes full screen, just like magic, and we can begin our conversation. So, first thing I want to talk about, core values. All right, this does not have anything to do with your workout in the gym for core muscles, okay? Those are core exercises for your core muscles. These are core values we are talking about. And they are the basic values, right, that drive our decision-making, that drive how we feel about things and how we make choices in our life. They're usually motivated by a set of core values. And tonight, what we're going to talk about are actually core value categories. And these are categories that will influence the choices that we make in our life. Now, why is that important? I chose this topic tonight because many people, from time to time will ask me, why do I make the choices that I make when I know that the last time I made that choice, it didn't turn out quite well? And yet I find myself driven from time to time to make the same choice. Well, it's not that we're bad people, or it's not that we're having lapses of judgment, but that oftentimes there are certain core values that are influencing our decisions. And tonight we're going to look at 4 categories, okay? We may have the best intentions in mind. And oftentimes we will make a choice because a particular category of core value is showing up and is influencing our decision-making, right? And, as far as our brain is concerned, we're doing a good thing. We're following a value, right? And we value our values. But we might be attempting to fulfill that value for the wrong reason. And as such, that value may pull us into making a decision that does not turn out in the most positive way for us and for others involved. So the first core value category that I wanted to discuss tonight is identity, okay? With this core value, we often make decisions that are based on a need we're feeling to confirm our identity, right? Oftentimes, when people ask, so, who are you? We immediately look at certain things that we attach to our identity, right? And so we may make certain decisions based on maintaining that identity that we feel is important for us to identify with, Or we might erroneously be thinking that that's the most important part of us when it's not, right? So sometimes the value category of identity will cause us to make a decision, and rather than the decision actually being one that could bring us to the highest level of achievement, the highest level of self-fulfillment, and also that could actually help others, right? The good of the whole occur, because we are kind of super focused on the need to confirm that identity that we hold important to us. We may make a decision that is not really the best for us in the long run or for the whole. Does everybody understand that first category? Yes or yes? Okay.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, I actually just did. Sometimes, let's say we have an identity as an executive, right? We hold very strongly and hold great importance to the work we do, and identify that that's the most important part of my identity. And so that value, even though it's a good, strong core value, if we tend to overcommit to that value or let it take over precedence over other values of other importance, we're really limiting ourselves, because we're more than just the work we do, and we're more than just the position we hold in that work. But we've over-identified with that position we have, and that's what gives our life value, right? For some people, it's the role of being a parent or being a spouse, right? And that's or being whatever it is. If we over invest in that identity, we can tend to start to make decisions that don't really contribute in the greatest way to the most fulfilling life that we can have, and we can often really kind of cut short opportunities and value for other people. So Marvin, does that make sense? Good, good. Okay, can any one of you relate to a situation in your life where you were focusing on that value of identity, and where your identity became too closely tied, right, to something that is not, not really reflective of the whole of who you are, and not really giving you the opportunity to be the most fulfilled, realized, and free person? Can you think about a situation like that? If so, write that down under that category. Or, any of you have ever had a career that was really important to you? Maybe you just started a new job and you were trying to, really, prove that you were really, really, competent, and that you were worthy of being invested in this job. And you worked, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I know I've done that. And I sort of lost myself in my identity as an executive in that business, right? I wasn't balanced because I was focused on, wanting to be, seen as a good worker. My identity was all about what I did rather than who I am. Okay. All right. If that's clear to everybody, let's move on to the next category. And the next category is potency. Okay, potency. Just like if you're taking a certain medication, different levels of potency based on the number of, I don't know, milligrams per tablet and the number of tablets per day you take. In value categories, potency has to do with how does what you do have meaning, okay? How does what you do bring meaning into your life? And we start to attach a great deal of emphasis on meaningful action, right? And we tend to be judging and measuring everything we do with, well, is it clear that this choice is going to bring a very meaningful result? Okay. And maybe that's meaningful to you, but it might not be as meaningful to others. But if we are really, really focused on, this means so much to me, what I'm doing here. It's really important that I make a choice to do this type of thing because it's bringing meaning to my life. Or in my mind, it's bringing great and important meaning. Is that clear to everybody? Someone might choose to go into a certain career because the career is a very meaningful one, a prestigious one, or it's very important to them that whatever it is they choose to do, it needs to have meaning. And all values are positive and have strong positive nature to them. But if the striving to have everything we do be meaningful, we can tend to miss out on creatively experiencing other things that may not have as deep a meaning, but might actually help bring about growth, learning, right? But on the surface, we might not judge it as being, as meaningful, Clear on that? Can you think of a situation where you kind of chose a choice of doing A instead of B because you felt that A was going to be recognized as being much more meaningful, but it actually might not have been that much more rewarding to you, or made that much more of a contribution to your growth? We might have been more attached to, this meaning that we attach to it, or the meaning that we think others attach to making that choice. And it may not be the right choice at the right time for us. So if you can think about a situation in your life that fit that, you might want to jot that down as an example. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And that's achievement. Okay, the core value of achievement is one that I'm sure many of us have experienced. I myself have experienced this in several situations in my life where I placed a great deal of importance to having my achievements recognized by other people instead of just doing the thing that I chose to do because it was the right thing to do, or it was something that gave me great joy or satisfaction, or it was something that brought great value to the world or to others. Instead of being focused on that, what value was I bringing? I was more concerned about, what do I need to do to get people to recognize that I've achieved this and to see how wonderful I am or how talented I am or how good I am. And whether, I wanted that for just the sheer, satisfaction, or whether I felt that that was important for me to be successful. In other words, to attract the right types of clients, to gain people's respect, to gain credibility. If I was spending more time trying to find ways for people to recognize and applaud my achievements rather than creative ways to serve the world better, I was really cheating myself and others. And so when we make choices based on that need to be recognized all the time, it can create challenges for us. I think this is a pretty easy one for folks to understand and relate to, don't you think? Yeah. And this starts out when we're little kids, it's a challenge when you're raising children, or you're training a pet, or you're managing workers. It's important that people be recognized at first to where they understand what's the right thing to do and what's the efficient and effective way to do it. It's important to recognize people for doing the right thing. But also it's important that people develop the ability to do the right thing or do their job well, and the only recognition they need is from themselves. Because if we continue to always require that everyone in the world know and recognize the great things we're doing and how wonderful we are and how talented we are, we really lose energy, we really lose credibility, and our focus shifts, from getting the attention and approval of others instead of having that approval inside of you already. And I think, we can see this, we can see this with so many celebrities, professional athletes, social media influencers, all the people you see doing what they do to get the number of likes and the number of, shares and all of these things. And sometimes the quality or the value of their contributions are pretty empty. More importance has been placed on being recognized for achieving things that really have very little value. Does that make sense? So we want to look at situations when we start to get really over concerned about making sure everybody in the world knows what we did and how great we did it, and how great we were rewarded for it. If we start to make more and more choices based on that need, we are really kind of going in the wrong direction of a value that is a beneficial value, but we're taking it into the wrong direction and we are overemphasizing it, right? It's kind of like the old saying, too much of anything winds up being challenging, right? Too much of a good thing is not a good thing anymore. So over connecting and over participating and over stressing any of these value categories can create an opportunity of imbalance and or making a choice that will not be the most beneficial, productive, or valuable to you. We all clear so far? Is this all making sense? Is this valuable to you so far? Yeah, when I was going over it this morning, I said, wow, I've seen this so many times and in so many, courses and trainings, but it really hit home for me this morning when I was working on, putting the announcements together for today's session. And so this last category, I think, is probably one that is so prevalent. And it's actually, it's rooted right into, as our brain developed, right? As it moved from the limbic system, from that reptilian brain that was just looking at fight or flight, as it evolved to understanding the importance of survival through being accepted as part of a group, a community, a family, right? This need for connection became stronger and stronger. And so the core value category of connection has to do with, how does what you do bring about a feeling of belonging? Whether that is belonging to someone or belonging to some group or something, right? And the unfortunate part about this is we see a tremendous amount of this as we are moving through adolescence. We see this in our children and in teenagers, where peer pressure becomes so strong an influence because they are putting, and it's part of a natural tendency to put a great deal of importance on feeling accepted, feeling a part of the group, feeling loved, and feeling important and connected. Right? That need for connection is so important. As a matter of fact, many studies were done in the 1960s, where if a baby, they did this with baby monkeys, and baby monkeys who were not held did not develop a sense of connecting to a loving being and being part of a duo or a group, they withered away and they died because there was no sense of connection, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So the need for connection is very, very strong. And it's a positive value that really helps us grow and develop and become a valuable member of society. But if we go to the extreme with it, if then everything we choose to do is all about always being accepted by the group, and if the group is not the most well-developed, the brightest, most, if the group's desires and choices are not the most honorable, that strong desire to be a part of that group supersedes our judgment to whether or not that group is even, worthy of us being a part of. And we see this with groups. We see this with relationships, right? When, maybe we've had a failed relationship in the past, or maybe we've had a hard time connecting in a relationship, and suddenly we become more and more needy or more and more desperate to have that relationship or have that connection. And we're willing to be in a relationship with anybody. And unfortunately, if that need to belong causes us to begin to feel that we're not worthy to be with someone who will treat us right, who will recognize our value without us always having to do what everybody else does or says we have to do, we then begin to sell ourselves short and get into relationships with people who will treat us poorly because our own personal image, our own self-image has degraded because of that sense of loneliness and neediness, right? So this is really important for us to take a look at, right? When we are making choices, is the choice that I'm making because it is the best choice that's going to bring the greatest value to my life and the greatest value to others around me, and will keep me at a very high standard of honor, of efficacy, right? Or am I over connecting with, am I overvaluing the value of connection to the point where I'm willing to change who I am and what I believe in, or even I'm willing to, possibly damage myself, my reputation, my future, my health, my sanity, my financial stability, because my need to belong to that person or a group is stronger than my own sense of self-worth and confidence. And I think at one time or another, we can all recognize ourselves or someone we know and love getting caught in that spiral where we overemphasize that value of connection and belonging becomes imprisoned instead of belonging, right? Is that clear, everybody? So if you were to take a moment and just think about, in the last month or the last year or sometime in your life, you made a decision and the decision turned out to have really negative repercussions. And you wonder, I thought this was the best decision. I thought it was the right decision, but it really turned out awful. Think about that. I've had many of them in my life. And I as I look at it, if I choose one particular one, I can clearly see the category that I was overemphasizing. So if you've had a decision you made in the past, which of these four categories do you think that decision might have fallen into? Where you are overemphasizing and overvaluing that value to the point of taking it out of balance. Take a moment and see which of these categories, because I'm sure every single choice we make that turns out to be a challenge for us usually fits into these four categories, one of these four categories. So go ahead and take a minute or a couple of minutes, and then we're going to come back to the big group and let's have some discussion about, what you experienced and what you learned. And maybe you have an example, like I shared an example. Okay. So I'd like to open this up for some discussion, whether you have a question or if you'd like to share an observation you made, a realization you had, recognition you had about how, an experience you had fits into this. Remember, this is not about judgment of ourselves or others. This isn't about, oh, you messed up and made a mistake. The purpose of tonight is about having clarity and understanding of what are the mechanics that go behind the scenes that are often unconscious in our decision making, but have real results in our conscious decisions and can affect our life in a way that's different from what we had hoped it would be. So the purpose of tonight is not to judge, but the purpose of tonight is to gain some clarity and understanding about these processes and these values and how we can work with them or overwork with them to, less than desirable results. So who wants to be first with a question or share an understanding they gained from this that they never had before, or give an example? Summary.
Hi, Mike. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
When I first read the announcement, for what tonight's meeting was about, I didn't think of like a concrete decision, but much more of a decision that I make every single day, over and over again, right? So I have a value that is to become visible, to become more visible so that I am of greater value to greater number of people. But every night I make the decision of snacking at night. And that decision is what did you call it? Oh, overvaluing or overemphasizing the value of safety. There's something about food that has been, or certainly the kind of food, the snacky foods that represents to me, it does represent belonging and being held and being protected. And it's almost as if there's a time in the evening where it overshadows the value of being visible. So that I'd love to unravel that and be free of that daily misapplication of a wrong, whatever you're saying, something about the value is off.
Yeah. I give you a real clear example, cultural example. For me, I come from an Italian heritage, and part of that sense of belonging to the group, the family, and celebrating the connection was always about eating. And it was always about eating very starchy food. And so that, for me, I had all of these subliminal connections that if I ate a lot of starchy food, it would make me feel like I did when I was a kid with family and everybody was around the table and it was very loving and it was very festive. And so when we were no longer together around the table and, I didn't have that connection physically, I found that connection by eating the starchy foods, because those are foods that, release sugars. The starch breaks down to sugar, and the sugar makes the brain happy, and it makes all of those nasty things in your gut, the bacteria really, really happy because they want that sugar. And so I was placing so much value on getting that same sense of connection through the ritual of the eating. And also, when I started working abroad, when I worked in South America, they ate dinner very, very late, 9, 10 o'clock. And so oftentimes, I got used to eating large meals late at night and starchy things at night, because that starch became sugar, became pleasurable, and it made me feel good. And it also made, the bad bacteria in my stomach that loves that stuff feel great as well. So that's an example where we start to connect an emotional gratification with a physical physical action and a physiological gratification. But by having the comfort food, which is always very high in carbs and calories and sugar, late at night, it doesn't get digested and it turns to fat. And so for someone trying to get healthier and diet, or someone who's really concerned about blood sugar, right? That snacking, the comfort food late at night has very detrimental effects to our health and our attempts to get healthier, skinnier, and feel better, as well as, prevent certain types of health problems. So by changing our eating patterns and eating earlier, by switching out foods that are really high in starch and sugars, replacing that with other healthier food, eating it earlier, and not eating it unconsciously, where we're just filling ourselves, to have the comfort of that sense of being full. We can fill ourselves with water and have the snack, or have fruit, or have something healthy. But what's most important is being conscious while we're doing it. And this is the real key. Most of the time, the eating that creates the most problems for us is unconscious eating. And we're going through a ritual that the eating is a part of, and it's really not about taking in nutrition because it's nutritional components that our body needs. We're no longer eating to live, we're living to eat. We're living for the ritual of eating. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It totally makes sense. For me, it's valuing disappearance over valuing what I really want to value, which is becoming more visible to more people.
Yep.
They're at such antithesis of each other, and I see it. I see the misplaced emphasis on that value, the value of safety through disappearance.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to unravel it. So, yeah. I hear.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. Sure.
Yeah. Well, recognizing that we've overvalued that is the first thing, but let's carry the conversation on in private about working together on utilizing the journal system and creating new habits through a stacking of habits, stacking of a positive habit with a negative one, and the slow process of retraining ourselves. In Weight Watchers, there is a saying, nothing tastes as good as being healthy and looking healthy feels. And that's something that, in my mind, I tend to remember over and over again is, that third piece of pizza will taste good, right? Or that big giant piece of cake, but is it as important to me as getting healthy and not becoming diabetic or not having a heart attack, right? It's important that we really become clear about the consequences of each thing we do and want to be very conscious about it and be immediate and in the moment about it, and be this moment, I'm going to make this right choice. Yeah, I can do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes the next day. And yeah, I'll start that diet after Thanksgiving. I'll start it after Christmas. I'll start it after New Year's. I'll start it after, Valentine's Day, after the church. I'll start it after Eid. And it just goes on and on and on. But if we say, I'm not worried about anything but today.
Mhm.
So today I'm going to make this choice to do this, to change my behavior. And I'm going to create a new habit just for today. And then tomorrow, I recommit to that tomorrow. Tomorrow is the new reality. Okay, we'll talk more about that summary, but good point.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you. Marvin, you were next.
What comes to mind is I go back to when I decided to get married. I had just met my wife, and we were in a relationships workshop where we both decided that we were going to meet somebody to last for the rest of our lives. And it happened really fast. And the connection was so important and intense that I never even really thought about what
Go on.
marriage would be like or the challenge of it. And there were consequences to that. I had a lot of upset when we moved in together about territorial stuff and things like that. And after all said and done, I just decided that I wasn't ready to get married. And I struggled with it. So I think there was some of this going on there, particularly the need to belong in a relationship, because I was fed up with short-term relationships and not wanting short-term relationships anymore at all, that I decided I would rather be alone than do that.
Yeah, and that is part of that's part of the growth and maturity process, where we begin to understand that the reasons we often use to get into a relationship may not be what we're ready for or what we're willing to do to grow, right? Because some people get into a relationship and they say, okay, here are the rules to this relationship. We're going to be together, but I'm not going to pay any attention to you. I'm going to do what I want, and you're not allowed to do anything I don't want you to do, right? We're in a relationship, right? We set our vows, we got our rings, the marriage was blessed, we're living in the same house, we have a bank account we're sharing, we're paying the bills, we're married, but I'm not going to allow the relationship to be anything other than according to my rules. That's not a relationship, right? So that's the other side of it, where our own self-importance or our own selfishness, which we tend to relate to survival, right? For me to feel like I'm surviving, all of my habits and all of my, hang-ups and all of my attachments have to be respected and followed, right? That's kind of I value the importance of my beliefs of what is right and what is important to me, but I kind of overvalue that, and I'm excluding what the importance of the other person. So a good point, really. I mean, when the creator decided, how am I going to create opportunities for my creations to learn to grow, work together, help each other, and become more mature, responsible, and value creating beings, it created relationships.
Yes.
And it's the number one thing that will help us or force us to learn, to surrender, to grow, to change, or if we choose not to suffer.
Yeah.
But we learn as we burn, even that we learn as we burn, we will learn. So good point, Marvin. Relationships are a real important process of understanding values and being in harmony with them, or having them get out of control. So thank you for that.
It took a fair amount of time to actually learn to balance that. And I had a lot of growing up to do.
Hey, we're still growing up. Doesn't, whether you're 9 or 99, it's a constant process of growing up, evolving, learning, and learning to serve each other, right, in order to be served. Carol, then Jocelyn.
Yes. Well, the connection part, I was thinking about how often I can be with people, a group, and somebody will say something that I totally don't believe or disagree with. And usually I just let it go. Recently I had a situation though, where somebody said something and I thought it was a lie. And I did say something and I was shocked at myself because it just came out. And what I realized was, you don't have to be on the same page. It's like, to me, it's like politics. I mean, some people here are Democrats and some are Republicans, well, who knows what, right? But that's where I find the choices, a choice that I make for myself can throw a whole group off, and they don't want to be my friend, or they don't want to see me, or they don't want to invite me for dinner, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I wanted to say. And also, Semarit, I was going to say, if you don't buy the snacks, then they won't be there to eat. That's what somebody told me once.
That's true.
I know you're an intelligent woman, you know that, but I just thought that, and it's a little joke.
No, the snack elf comes at night and puts it in the house. I've had that happen. It's awful.
I guess it's
well. Thank you, Carol. Your point, Carol, is really, really valuable, and especially here in the States, we're moving towards midterm elections, and I'm always saddened by how that need to belong and need to be right, has just divided the world. But it is used as a control mechanism, and I really fight very hard not to fall into any hole or allow myself to be manipulated because of a desire to be with a group that I think is right. So anyway, thank you for that. We need to.
It's an inner, on the inner what's right for you.
Yeah. And oftentimes, unfortunately, what's right for us is no longer a choice. And that's kind of often where we head. And we have to figure out, how can I, as an individual, live the most responsible, free, and productive life I can, because the choices that I'm being given are no longer choices that support growth and independence and liberty and freedom. When we reach that point where your choices are, fascism or communism, that's not much of a choice. Someone has to suffer so someone else doesn't have to suffer, and neither one should suffer. That's no longer a choice. So we really need to be doing our best to be as clear about what we do, why we do it, how we do it, who we want to be, and how we can create the most value in the world and uplift the consciousness of the world by first uplifting ourselves and making better everything that's around us. We will never change everything, and we will never change everyone. We don't want to do that. That's not our business and our job. But our best and most important thing is to make sure we're operating from the highest state of, ethics and love and wisdom and freedom, and bringing that forth for others. So, Jocelyn.
Yeah, there's a lot brewing here. I just want to catch up on the treats at night, because I had that problem as well. And I'll move on to other things. But what stopped me was that when I realized that it was eating at my dreams. Overnight, I started having nightmares. I started spending much more time on the astral world than the higher worlds. And when I realized that that habit now was eating at an important part of me, I put a note in everywhere in my house, and even on my computer, no eating after that time at night, because I understood the more of it. And I decided, no, that's it. I'm not going to put myself into that situation if I make all this effort to grow in spirit. And I kind of jeopardize that every night by having those treats. That's not paying off. And that stopped it for me. Nothing before that did it, I must say. But for now, this is what did it to me. The other thing about Carol, what she said, I think that we think being a hero is making something incredible. But when we stand up and say, no, I don't go for that. I'm sorry. That's yours. That's not mine. And I don't think it's the right thing personally to do. We're kind of a hero, because we know a lot of people, won't be happy with that, especially the one that you signal that to. And then you may have all kind of, retributions as a result of that. So that's, for me, is being a hero. And I think that a lot of us are on a daily basis, much more than we believe, the minute we go by our truth and we stand by it in a graceful way, but firm way at the same time. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, you touched, Michael, on me, was about connection. All my life, the meaningful relationship were the one that really got me into very difficult times. Why? Because I was ready to rally behind the agenda of the other one, no matter if it didn't fit with me. And for a long time, for years, and satisfying that agenda and not giving enough consideration to who I was, what I wanted to realize in this lifetime, and where I was going. So I had to learn it the hard way. And it's always coming on the same into a meaningful relationship, where this disease to please, where you think from I call that the mama syndrome, where you do as I say and you're fine, is that you continue applying this pleasing dimension to the others to feel secure and to feel that you belong. And that can get, in my case, it got me in a very, very, very difficult, up to the point where you get to a moment when you say enough is enough. I think I've grown now, and I put just something on my wall not too long ago that says, I am the one I have been waiting for. And that was the moment when I said, enough is enough. Maybe I'm the one, not maybe, I am the one I have been waiting for. And I'm going to manifest that to the max that I can. So, and enough of being slave or rally other agenda just for that kind of, I say, false security. It's a false security that will never lead you to contentment and satisfaction and realization in life. And we all have a mission of ours. And no matter how big or how small, this is where we are the hero. And I think we have to honor that as much as we can and not let ourselves drag by all these desires or need or whatever that are tempting at us every single day, and forget the greatness of who we are behind the personality and that we are soul, we are spirit, we have unlimited possibility with creativity, and we never should let go of that for whatever other needs that are not even matching our aspirations. So that's where I think discrimination applies, and that's where we have to be very present and conscious into applying discrimination.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jocelyn. Really, really important points. You know, it's important that we are investing at all times as much in our personal growth, right? Growing all the time as a more conscious, more aware, more loving, more giving, more value creating individual, and also supporting the growth of others that are, you know, we're in family and relationships and neighbors and coworkers. If we invest in that, the growth of each other, not only do each of us grow, but it has an effect on everyone around us, and it does uplift the world. And that's one of the reasons I created the programs that I've created. And I'll share my screen again here. It's one of the reasons I created, first of all, the Goal Mastery journaling system. You know, journaling has been used for hundreds of years for being able to take a look at our decisions, our choices, our values. And I created this special program to make it very simple, to be focused, to be inspired with inspiration, affirmation, gratitude, learning to take charge of your decisions of what to do and what not to do, the people, places, and things that support our growth and the things that sabotage. And not only is this journaling system the most complete one in the world, but it comes with instructional videos, classes that take you step by step through how to use this journal. And I often say, you don't write in this journal, it writes in you. This system has proven itself to help many, many individuals around the world. And that can be available to you at any time at our site, goalmasteryjournal.com, goalmasteryjournal.com. And that is part of a number of programs. One that I am launching very soon in January, the Evolved Health Caring Thought Leader Program, is a masterclass and coaching program to help individuals who are in the healthcare field evolve their careers and actually take steps to become recognized thought leaders in their field. To really fall in love again with healthcare, regain an understanding of their superpowers and the value they bring, and be able to bring more value to their current and future customers, clients, and patients. Also have another self-paced class, so much involved with values, so much involved with personal exploration, personal development, goal achievement. And that's the Your 9 Steps for Goal Achievement Mastery program. There are 2 video classes per step. There are 9 steps. There's a workbook with each step. It's all online. It's self-paced. Again, people around the world have had amazing benefits from it. And I invite anyone who's watching, if they go to MikeDeLucaCoach.com, MikeDeLucaCoach.com, they will be able to purchase this program, Your 9 Steps for Goal Achievement Mastery. For those who have friends, family, or interested in dreams, right? And they're looking for something to take them step by step, this is a great program. Ride Your Dreams, self-paced with video, with audio, with a special dream journal. If you go to ridemydreams.com, real simple to remember, ridemydreams.com, they will be able to get this program. Makes great gifts for the holidays as well. So that's my shameless self-promotion for the night. because this program every Sunday is brought to you by Integrated Wellness and Development and through MikeDeLucaCoach.com and all of the other programs that are part of that. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your contributions to each other and to everyone who was watching on Facebook and who will be watching on Facebook. What you said, what you thought, and what you are touched them and will touch people in the future you'll never know. So thank you all for joining me tonight. I love you. I have tremendous respect for you. And I so honor your desire to be today something more than you were yesterday, and tomorrow to be an even greater contributor to life and to the world and to yourself. So have a good night, have a good week, and we will see you again soon. Take care.
Thank you, Mike.